Welcome back to my channel. So, one thing, I'm sorry for the audio problems I've been having recently. I'm going to try to get that fixed. Also, I went back to the intermediate Python course to continue that, and I'm at a point when it does cost money, and I don't have a paid subscription at this point, so I will not be continuing that course at this time. So I'm sticking with the Intro to R course for now. Okay, all this is a test of remembering what we've done so far. So it wants us to assign the word go to Vegas, exclamation point. So this should be, it's called a character in R, but it's what I'm used to being called a string. And it looks like it did it. Yay. Okay, so here we're learning vectors. Vectors are similar to what a list is in Python and an array in other languages I've used. The way to create a vector, you give it a variable name, is the assignment operator, which is what we use for equals in Python. You put this letter C with the parentheses. So this is a function named combine. It's actually called C, which is short for combine. And then you're giving it the elements of the array or list or vector. And so you have a numeric or integer vector, and then you have a character vector. And they want us to create a Boolean vector, which contains true, false, true. Run. We have no actual output. This just tells us what we did, so we submit. Continue. Okay, so they tell us we need to create two variables or two vectors. One is the poker vector, which they've done for us on line 2. And the other is the roulette vector, which we're doing on line 5. So I'm going to do C for combine, open the parentheses for, because it's a function. And then we have the results. So on Monday, we lost $24. On Tuesday, we lost $50. On Wednesday, we won $100. On Thursday, we lost $350. And on Friday, we won $10. So I'll run, but we're not actually doing anything other than assigning to a variable. So I'll submit. Yay. In this exercise, we are assigning names to the vectors. The names are the days of the week. So from what I can understand, this is going to work similar to a dictionary in Python, but it takes 2 steps to set it up. So we're going to start with the names function. We're going to pass in the vector that we want names assigned to. So passing in roulette vector. Then we're going to use the assignment operator. And then we're going to combine. So this assigns it similar to a vector. Now because I'm lazy, I'm going to just copy this because we're doing the exact same thing. We run it. We're not actually outputting anything. It's just plays the code that we've typed, and we submit. So in here, they have created a vector called days vector, And this is meant to make it easier to assign the names to each of these, the roulette and poker vectors that we want names assigned to. So I should be able to just pass in the days vector to both of these. And that's assigning the days of the week. So we submit. Okay, this one is important. A word of advice. Try to avoid code duplication at all times. Continue to the next exercise. Okay. That is true. Because the more you type, the more mistakes you're likely to make. So just assign things to variables whenever you can and just reuse the variables. Because our modern IDEs will correct any spelling mistakes. But if you're putting something in a string, it won't know to. If I left a D out of Monday, it wouldn't know that I wanted a D there. It wouldn't have any way of knowing that. But if I left the D out of days vector, then it doesn't know what I'm talking about and it tells me I need to fix the problem. For this exercise, they want us to add A vector, which is line 1, with B vector, which is line 2. And they give the information how to do that. I'm going to start with line 8, which is printing, which I believe you just type in the name of total vector and it'll print it out. But now I need to do line 5, which is adding them. And I believe they said I can just do A vector plus B vector. And I run this, and it gives me 579. So the way it's adding, it takes the first element from the vector, each vector, and adds it. It takes the second element and adds it, and then it takes the third element and adds it. So that's how we get 5, 7, and 9. And now we are totaling our poker and roulette vectors so that we can see how much we won or lost each day. So I'm just going to do poker vector plus roulette vector. But we're not actually doing anything with this code. All we're doing is assigning whatever we want to total daily. We never printed out. We never used the days vector yet. So I assume that stuff will be coming up. Now we're learning a different way to do math. We're using the sum function. So what the sum of poker value is going to take these 5 numbers and add them together, which means, for example, 140 plus 50 is 9. And then you add these other ones. So we're going to do the same with roulette. We're going to sum roulette vector. So that's going to mean total poker is 1 number. Total roulette is 1 number. And then we take total poker plus total roulette is the total week. And then we print total week. Okay. I got 2 errors. I got total week not found and total roulette not found. Now I did not declare those. I used one of them here. And what it turns out, you have to scroll up to find the third error I got, which is that I used a function called sun instead of sum. So when you see an error, and this happens in IDEs as well, it's not necessarily the last error you find is the exact problem you have. It could be indirectly related to a mistake you made earlier in code. Wow. So through both of those types of games the entire week, we've lost $84. Yep, this is pretty bad news. Okay, what they want us to do in this exercise is again calculate total poker. And total roulette. Now we are meant to output if total poker is greater than total roulette. It has to do with the story that's going on, but it's going to output, so it's going to compare these two. Okay, for lines 2 through 6 and lines 9 and 10, these are all assignment lines. So what it's doing is assigning. In line 13, it's doing a comparison. In most languages that I've dealt with, the comparison would not be output because you don't have a print statement saying that you want to output it. But in R, it just defaults to a print statement, so this should print a true or false. It's either total poker is greater than total roulette, so it's true, or that is false. Alright, and it says it's true, so we did better in poker than in roulette. So in here, we are trying to select a specific element from vector. One thing is, in most languages, start an array or a list with element 0, but in R, it starts with element 1. The second thing to note is that use the brackets to select a specific element. So I believe brackets 3 Wednesday. Submit. In this exercise, we are selecting 3 elements. So we're going to start by telling it what vector to select elements from. We are then going to use our open brackets because that's how you select an element. We're then going to do our C for combine. I believe it's combine. And we do our open parentheses and do 2 for Tuesday, 3 for Wednesday, 4 for Thursday. So poker midweek is now a vector of 3 of the elements of the poker vector. Alright, now we're creating a roulette selection vector. So we're going to start by putting roulette vector. We're going to use open brackets for selection, C for combine, and open parentheses so we can list out what to combine. Now they taught us a new way, so we're going to put the number 2 for Tuesday. We're going to do a colon, which is a symbol to give an entire range instead of listing them out individually. And then we're going to give a 5 because they want us to include Friday. One thing to note, both numbers are included in whatever you're. That's the way I understand it. Yep. The colon operator is extremely useful and very often used in R programming, so remember it well. Okay. Okay, now we have 2 things we're doing. So in here, we're going to create a vector of the first 3 days that we played poker. So we're going to do poker vector, select, but instead of using numbers, we're going to use the names. So we're going to put Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And this is where I have a bit of a problem with, because you're doing the typing thing. But in a bigger program, you might have these words saved somewhere so that there would be variable names, or there would be something that's just makes more sense to me than this. Also, I forgot to combine these, so we have to do C and parentheses. Now we're gonna do something even more interesting. We're gonna calculate the mean of poker start. I believe this is what we're supposed to do. Run code. Okay, so this is the mean. The mean is just the average, so they've added up the amount of money, so that'd be 140 minus 50 plus 20, and divided it by 3 to get this answer. And so that's how much we've made on average each day. So they list out the different comparison operators. We have less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. They have equal, and they have not equal. So what we're trying to find for this exercise is which of our days playing poker did we win or did we lose? Which of our days did we win or did we lose? They do want us to print out selection vector, so I'm just gonna do that now so I don't forget. And the way we're gonna create our selection vector, which is our vector that says, did we win on this day? We're gonna say poker vector greater than 0. So what this is gonna do is say 0 is gonna go through each element of the poker vector and say 0 is greater than or less than the first number, and that's gonna be either true or false. It's gonna compare with the second number, the 0 with the second number, and print out true or false, and then it'll compare with the third item and print out true or false. Ours is actually not printing, it's storing it in a variable, and then we're printing it here. Alright, so I've had a problem twice with this, where I tell it what I wanted to print out, and it tells me an error that it doesn't know what I'm talking about. I do a class to tell me what type this variable is, and it tells me, and then I take away the class request so that I just print the variable like I was supposed to, and it does it. So if you have that problem, you are not the only one. Alright, we got our printed results. We have the labels printed, the names printed, and then whether it's true or false. Submit. Great. Now what we're expected to do, if I understand it right, we're supposed to only store the amounts that we won and only for the days that we won, not for the days that we lost. So they tell us to put selection vector in brackets. So we're requesting poker vector. Put the square brackets to say we want to select certain items from that vector. And we're passing in a logical vector, which is a list of true and falses. The way I understand what it reads this as is if you were to put equals true. So it's only doing, it's only caring what's in the selection vector if it's equal to true. But because R automatically does that, we don't have to put the equals true. Alright, correct. Great job. Continue. Okay, so our selection vector is now the roulette vector where it is greater than 0. I mean, where it's positive. Then our roulette winning days are where the roulette vector, we're just selecting the selection vector where it's true. So this is the same thing that I just explained on the previous one. And we submit. Alright, so this is the conclusion of this chapter, and we're going to do matrices next. So matrices would be, well, it's a whole list. They'll explain it better than I can. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped in some way. I'm sorry about the intermediate Python. I will find other courses in Python to do, but I'm focusing on the data manipulation with dplyr first, which obviously it'll take another probably month to get to.